Omari Brown from JetX. Omari, what was it like to be out there yesterday watching the Jets and the Bucks have their first of two joint practices?
Morning, Jake. How you doing? It was good. It felt good, man. We're getting to that point of the year where you wake up and it just smells like football. Like you got the morning dew, you got grown men in pads, and we're watching them run into each other. So it was really good. And we'll get into that. I know that some people, some people are like to track stats for practice, but I thought that it looked good. Let's just get right into it. I mean, the Jets are 2 for 2 in their last first round picks. I think Armand Membu and David Bailey are absolute franchise cornerstones, and it's good to see that the Jets aren't getting pushed around. For the last couple years during a lot of these joint practices, I feel like the Jets were just getting taken out to the woodshed, and I think the physicality is there, and I think this feels like more of a Glenn team, and more so than a Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas holdover team. So it's funny because one thing that Connor Rogers said, I don't want to steal. I'm going to steal a little bit of his thunder. The new guys that are starting fights, these guys, they're not used to being pushed around in Jets jerseys. Like Armand Membu was snatching off helmets and he's putting Ruben Bain in the dirt. Dow Jackson Jr. is flinging helmets and throwing punches. And again, you don't want to do too much of that. You got to reel it in. And David Bailey, he's pissing off Luke Gedeke, who's one of the better right tackles in the league. So it does feel good that the guys that we're excited about and we want to be excited about are actually showing that when it matters in between those white lines, that they're going to be physical and that they're actually good.
I think it's a really good point by UN Connor, because if you look at it, the Jets last year, how many times did they just get embarrassed? How many times did they just get punked? And I think one of the defining moments for me personally, as someone who really is a huge believer in Armand Membu, was against the Patriots as the Jets were getting their asses kicked, especially in the first half. At the end of the half, Armand Membu was getting into a fight with the entire Patriots defensive line. Like, he felt like he got cheap shotted and he wasn't going to stand for that, and he was going to stick up for himself. And he still showed that he cared and had a fire and a passion in a game where the Jets were losing by 30 points. That mattered to me. Like, the Jets have been clowned for far too long with the previous group of players. You bring in guys like Demario Davis, you bring in guys like Micah Fitzpatrick, David Onyemata. You bring in these guys, they're not going to just sit there and allow the Jets to be clowned like they were as many times as they were a year ago. So I like the fact that Membu is not afraid to get into it with the Bucks. I like the fact that David Bailey is not afraid to get into it with the Bucks. This stuff matters, man. If you're trying to change the culture, like any chance Aaron Glenn has of doing that, you need your young players to be hard asses, to be those type of like hard nosed players. And I like hearing some of the stuff coming out about Bailey and Member from yesterday.
Yeah, and you said something really good, Jay, because like the guy, it's way different when Michael Clemens is starting to fight than when David Bailey is starting to fight. No
Right.
disrespect to Michael Clemens, he's
I'll say
probably one
it.
of the yeah,
Disrespect
right?
intended to Michael Clemens.
Disrespect to Michael, all disrespect to Michael Clemens. But yeah, it's different when the better players on your team are also, not just the fake tough guys, they're real tough guys, and they're just not going to be pushed around. Like they're not going to start a fight, but they're going to finish it. And another thing that you like to see as well, and this is practice, and people are going to say that things don't matter. The little things do matter, especially when you're trying to establish a standard. And the standard for the Jets right now really is losing. So it takes a ton. It's good when you get a new wave of guys that don't accept losing. Just like you said, the veterans, but even the younger guys, D'Angelo Pons, Omar Cooper Jr., even Dow Jackson Jr. to some summers. I know they had a tough year at Florida State, but those guys are they're not trying to start their career as losers. They've won at almost every level that they've been at. So it like the little things, and I know that it's tough. We do our best here. Jake and I try to do our best when we speak to you guys. Try not to compound 15 years of losing onto the 2026 draft class, but they only know what they know. And right now, they don't know that the Jets, they don't know what it feels like to lose for 15 years straight. So again, it is good. It's youthful exuberance, and that's what you want to see. But it's also important that they're good. Like when the best players on your team have or have a no nonsense attitude and they don't take shit, it feels different. It's different. It's not the third it's not the third string guard. It's not an Xavier Newman. These are guys who are going to be captains and franchise cornerstones, and you want to make sure that they don't take shit from anybody, especially when another team comes into your home base.
That's well said. The big story, unfortunately, from yesterday at this joint practice was the injury that Quantez Stiggers suffered.
Yeah.
Needed the ambulance. He was taken to the hospital. just passed out, according to Aaron Glenn. He's doing okay. He's been released from the hospital, so at least we got a positive update yesterday after I signed off the air on Quantez Stiggers. Other than that, though, Omari, break down what else you saw out there. We heard a lot of talk of Geno Smith struggling through a couple of interceptions. From your vantage point, what did you make of the Jets offense going up against the Bucs starting defense?
Yeah, so in the beginning, in between the 20s, it was a rough start. There's no other way to put it, but I will say that the Jets were working. It seemed to me that they came out there, and the point of emphasis was to work on the short game and the intermediate routes. They didn't really try to stress the defense vertically. It was a lot of quick decisions, a lot of quick dump offs. You saw a lot of Jeremy Ruckert, and you saw a lot of Mason Taylor dump offs in the middle. Um, yeah, and the only time that they did try to stress the defense vertically was a deep route to Adonai Mitchell, and Mitchell had a couple steps on his guy. Geno just put it on the wrong shoulder and out of bounds. And again, it's practice, so I don't really want to go too far left or right, one way or the other, positive or negative from practice. But you do want to see something more crisp. So that's what I will say. The interceptions, that's just going to be a part of Geno's game. So people, if you're going to get mad about interceptions, you might as well just start getting mad now because Geno Smith is going to turn the ball over. But that's the variance that you're going to have with Geno. Some games he's going to throw 3 touchdowns and 1 interceptions, and some games he's going to throw 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. You're just going to get that from Geno Smith at this point. But again, what I saw was a concentrated effort to get rid of the ball quickly. I didn't have my stopwatch on me, but I did my little 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And Geno was getting rid of the ball right around that 3 Mississippi every single time. Now that's the bad. The good, I'm going to put my green, optimistic Oakleys on. Ton of pre-snap motion. So I would say a good amount for Frank Reich. He was in the bottom third. The last time he called an NFL offense, he was in the bottom third in percentage of pre-snap motion. Almost every play that they ran had some semblance of pre-snap motion, whether that was, they're in 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receivers and 1 running back. You got Isaiah Williams coming from, the trips of the formation, going across the formation to make it a 2-by-2 look. Mason Taylor motioning out pre-snap. So there was a ton of pre-snap motion. So that is, that's really good because that's just where the NFL is. Pre-snap motion allows you to do a couple things. It's an identifier for the offense, so you can determine whether you're in man or in zone, and it's a good way to attack leverage. And you get the defense moving one way, and then you come back and counteract and go in another way. So that helps in the pass game, the short pass game, and also helps in the run game as well too. So that's one thing that I could take from that in that first session. And I would say.
The Jake Asman Show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks right now. If you're a sports fan, they have something for everyone, especially if you're one of my listeners and you're gearing up for the upcoming Jets season. For player picks on PrizePicks, you just pick a player you like and you go more or less on a few of their stats. Check out some of the numbers they have for some of your favorite Jet players. Geno Smith, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr., Kenyon Sadiq, and many more. PrizePicks should be your go-to. And check out their new offer right now. Play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you need to do is sign up and use that code HMA. That's PrizePicks code HMA. Download the app now or click the link in the description to download the PrizePicks app today.
What else I saw? One thing that I really want to call out, because everybody is excited about Cade Klubnik right now, and everybody knows the most, especially in the Jets fandom, the most popular person in the world is the backup quarterback. Cade Klubnik in 7-on-7, I think he was playing it safe. And I saw that one of the beat writers said, a good period for Cade Klubnik. He was like 4 or 5 or 5 for 5. That's not really what I'm looking to see from my 4th round developmental QB.
This is where training camp stats can be very misleading.
Absolutely. So Jake, if I tell you that Cade Klubnik was 4 for 5 and, he moved the ball, you would probably think that was good, right?
It sounds really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Cade Klubnik, Cade Klubnik tucking the ball and running for 12 yards in a 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 is not doing Cade Klubnik any favors. I want Cade Klubnik really using practice to really understand and learn what his deficiencies are and what his strengths are. How quickly does an NFL window close? Where do I have to throw? Where does this ball have to be in order for for me to fit it in that window. What are my limitations in terms of arm talent? What are my advantages in terms of arm talent? Where does Omar Cooper like this ball? Like if I throw it to his back shoulder, can he turn around and make this catch? I want Cade Klubnik to play as free as he can because that's going to be able to unlock him the quickest. And that I think that's where we're going to get the best version of Cade Klubnik. I don't want Cade Klubnik to play safe in a joint practice in the NFL. I want Cade Klubnik going out there and throwing the ball, being decisive. Who cares if you throw interceptions? If Cade Klubnik throws 20 practice interceptions, it does not matter as long as he's understanding what his limitations are, how quickly these windows close in the NFL, and how he's going to be able to potentially win games if the Jets need him. So that's another takeaway that I would do from the offense.
Justin's in our raffle for 2. Shout out to you, Justin. He says, who was actually afraid of Robert Saleh? We got rid of those players. He grit. Also, Saleh's defense likes to play with everything in front of them. Tight ends are going to feast. Get me that helmet. Again, there's no excuse for the Jets to not win week 1. It's a gigantic game. You're playing a team that has an entirely new coaching staff, a young quarterback going into his second year. They have way more turnover than the Jets do on both sides of the football. I think an advantage the Jets have is in the trenches in both matchups. I think the Jets should be able to wreak havoc with their defensive line. And I think the O-line should be able to hold up and protect Geno. So, everyone who's watched the show the last couple months knows how I feel about week 1. It's a game they have to win if you're serious about being a team that's going to be better than what most people expect, which is a 4 or 5-win football team.
I'm right there with you, and I was supporting you saying that week 1 is a must win, and that's exactly how I feel. Shout out to Ocho. I think that is a winnable game. And if you're going to be who Aaron Glenn thinks his team is, you have to win some of those 50-50 games. So I think that it's a tremendously winnable game. And as we get closer, we're going to break down about where the Jets have the matchups. Jake said it right. They have the trench. They have the advantage in the trenches. And I think they probably have the advantages on the at the skill positions as well, too. I'm taking the Jets tight end group over their linebackers. And I would say maybe the cornerback and wide receiver for the Jets, the cornerbacks for the Titans and the wide receivers for the Jets is maybe a wash. But again, I like for talent, I like the Jets over the Titans. Now, Titans fans are going to say the same thing, but listen, that's why we have an opportunity to play. We know exactly what Robert Saleh is going to do. You think that Robert Saleh is going to change his scheme and his philosophy for this?
No chance.
Especially against the Jets? No. So let's abuse their aggressiveness, just like teams did for 4 or 5 years when Saleh was here. You're going to be able to beat them on the screen, tight end screens. You're going to be able to beat them with the quick pass game. All right. Now, what does Omar Cooper, Isaiah Williams, and Garrett Wilson do? They can break tackles. So if you want to play that cover 3 trail and give up a bunch of cushion, just like we used to hate all the time when Sauce was already giving up 8 yards of cushion and they would just throw the ball out there, let Garrett Wilson and A.D. Mitchell do that and break some tackles. We know exactly what to do to take advantage of a Robert Saleh defense. So no, I'm not laying down for Robert Saleh. I was a big fan of Cam Ward, and I love what Brian Daboll has to do. But he's also a second-year quarterback that was one of the worst quarterbacks against pressure. So let's pressure the second-year quarterback and show us that he's learned everything and see what Brian Daboll has to do. They're learning 2 new schemes just like the Jets are.
And again, I got to keep listening to Aaron Glenn tell everyone how good he is at calling defense. Did it again yesterday on WFAN, trying to make it seem like, well, his biggest mistake he made in year 1, he said, was he should have called the defense. And it's like, you wanted to hire Wink Martindale to do it this offseason. It's not like you had this, this moment of, this is what I'm going to do immediately. No, you didn't. But he keeps talking like this is going to be the biggest change for the Jets this year. So let's see it come out and be the better team. Because one thing about Saleh, he can coach defense. He's proven that. So let's see, Aaron Glenn. The Jets today definitely win. We'll see on Friday when they take on the Tampa Bay Bucks in the first preseason game. So Aaron Glenn yesterday said that all the starters are going to play. And then he was asked, well, why?
Important for all guys to play. Now, there were science behind this also, as far as having joint practices and trying to get the guys, at least throughout the preseason, 25 to 30 reps. I'm talking about all 3 games, so, and I don't know how I'll divvy that up. It's a feel when you go into preseason, but what they say is when you get joint practices where the ones get a lot of reps and then you have that many plays, 25 to 30 in the preseason games throughout those 3 games, the risk of injury actually goes down in that first part of the year. So just talking to those guys, I'm a big believer in that, you know, so I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Omari, what do you make of the strategy Glenn and the sports science department are deploying for Friday and the other 2 preseason games?
I love it. I think that this was a 3-win team, and I think everybody should be playing football except for maybe Demario Davis and Minka Fitzpatrick. Everyone else needs to we just did our last segment on how week 1 is a must win. Aaron Glenn doesn't have the luxury to start out slow. He doesn't have an opportunity to ramp up and ease into the season. They have to be ready to go from the opening whistle on September 13th. And I think that making sure that you can simulate game speed reps as much as you can before things truly count. So I think that they should probably even play more. I think that your younger guys and some of your backups should probably play 40 to 50 snaps. I think it should be a little bit more. Maybe Gino probably needs 40 snaps or 50 snaps. So I think that they should play as much real football at real speed as they can before things truly matter. Listen, you have to build up a callus. Like these guys train all off season. I know that we don't want guys to get hurt, but it's football. You have to play football. I'm a firm believer that maybe this is old school. You know, I played football in the early 2000s. I think that you have to play football to get better at football.
The deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.